Do you feel it is too late to get started on YouTube, or maybe not worth your time? Or better yet, do you feel you are too old and maybe disadvantaged in some way to start something on YouTube? What if I told you now is the right time to strike and get started? We're going to have this conversation with Omar El Takari, who just put out a video the other day talking about finding your bliss, basically begging Generation X and baby boomers to get started. We need you. YouTube needs you. The world needs your passion and your experience. Omar, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Dude, honored to do this again. As a returning guest, it means I did a good job the first time. So, yeah.
Not only have you done a good job on the show, but you've helped me personally immensely, which I will never be able to thank you enough for. So, Omar, do me a favor. Kind of summarize that recent video that you recorded in Mexico. Shout out you going to Mexico and booking content so you can write it off.
There
Good
you
move
go.
from your accountant.
Stuff
But
I've learned from 2.0 people, you know? No,
exactly.
yeah. So essentially, I feel as someone who I would say is a forward thinker or a thought leader when it comes to content creation in any capacity for people who are in business. Maybe you wanted to use it to jumpstart a business. I'm always, I guess you could say, having my brain to the floor and seeing what, a little bit of observations I see happening, but more importantly, seeing opportunities that present itself. And more than ever, people are getting started to create content. Doesn't matter what area or time you are in your life, it's just happening. And the observation I've realized with especially people like Michael Zuber is that people who are getting started later in their life because of their life situation that has allowed them to get started actually have so much more to offer than when the young person who's just dancing and pointing at their screen trying to get people to follow and stuff like that. And this comes because you have experience. This comes because you have expert. This comes because you've had the passion for a long time. Like, and that's why it doesn't really matter what it is. It's just the thing that you've been able to carry for a longer period of time. And so, if this 21-year-old has maybe fell in love with this activity, let's just say gardening at 15, which would be very rare for a 21-year-old to love gardening. But and you, on the other hand, you have this field because you've been doing it for decades. Like,
Mm.
you not only have way more content value to offer, but you have so much more content, generally speaking, to last longer and even more rich information to deliver. And so, yeah, this podcast I released, it's crazy. Like, I've probably never gotten more rich comments on a YouTube video, even though my podcast is highly valuable, but it struck a chord, and I do feel like there is a special group of people that really could take this opportunity and create a new level of income, or even add on to what it is you're already doing. And this is why I love talking about this with Zuber, because he's someone who retired 3 weeks later, felt like he needed to do something. And by the way, I think we all need to do something. It doesn't matter where you are in your life. There is something that has been put in us. There's actually this scripture that says God's woven eternity in our hearts. So there's a longing in our soul, and sometimes we think it's retirement, but then you get to that place and you're like, man, there has to be more. I've achieved it, but why do I still feel empty? Well, because we are made on purpose for a purpose. And so I would just argue that there are still people that you have yet to reach and influence and help. Granted, be whoever. It might be a young cat. It might be people in your season of life, or people that are just trying to get into the thing that you've been passionate about for decades.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of thing going on in kind of this YouTube land, social media, brand building, whatever you want to call it, that's actually leaning towards being a benefit for Gen X and baby boomers. I think there's, as you and I joke privately, there's too many 20-year-old life coaches,
Yeah.
right? Right. The other thing that I think was very poignant in your video was if you're, you know, 20 or 18, being a content creator is actually a career path. I mean, that is what a lot of 20-year-olds want to do or 18-year-olds want to do. The challenge is they're going to be chasing money, right? Because they
Right.
need income, which, as I have seen in YouTube land, means you go a certain direction, which maybe feels good in the moment, but is not long for this world, right? You chase trends, you chase negativity, you chase, you know, you
Fear.
dancing monkey stuff, fear, right?
Yeah.
It's not good long term. But if you're someone with experience and, as you called it, your bliss, right? You already had your money needs taken care of. You can start building something now while you're working and um, have something when you're done. You won't have that freak out moment like I had 3 weeks after, because I was depressed, dude. I was like, I'm gonna get a job or I'm gonna kill myself. Right. I just had no thing driving me. I was just spiraling out of control. Trust me, you don't want to be there. That is a place to be. Right.
Right.
So if you could build something. And then the other thing
Yeah.
that I really go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I was in the military for about 7 years. Just for we're filming this on Memorial Day, so I just want to give an honor and shout out for those that obviously have lost their life on the front end of battle, but also those who currently and have served. And I've even noticed for military people who they go the traditional route of retiring from their career in the military, they end up finding a regular job at a sports shop, or like they need to do something because they had so much activity and purpose at one point in their life and now it's done. But like, how cool would it be to share those stories? How cool would it be to share that process? And but yeah, go ahead. What were you gonna say? I just wanted
Yeah, no,
to
I think
amen.
that's exactly right. The other thing that I think is really interesting, right? Because if you're a baby boomer or Gen X, you're not on the forefront of all this new technology, generally speaking. There's obviously exceptions. But I actually think AI is going to help baby boomers and Gen X and actually hurt, 1.0 generation. What do I mean by that? Because that sounds backwards. I actually think AI is going to create a mountain of new content that is just summary, just, basic, just echo chamber nonsense. And because it's going to be easy, I suspect in the next year, if not less, you're going to be able to create a fully edited 12 to 20-minute video on some topic in 20 minutes, right? If you know how to be a prompt engineer. And once that happens, you're going to see thousands, if not tens of thousands of people do that, create faceless channels or whatever it is. And that's actually going to be a step backwards. I'm actually seeing already boomers, Gen X, create unedited videos right off their phone that are going viral. That's
Yep.
the content that people want and need, not some AI scripted hallucination nonsense. So I actually think AI is going to help us, right, 2.0 folks, stand out even more. What do you think of all that?
I agree. And because I think it's still a long time till we get to a place where AI can cause people to feel, because that's the thing it's not able to do is create a human experience. This is why podcasting is powerful. This is why just one take storytelling is powerful. And I like to categorize the type of content we're kind of talking about as conviction based content. Conviction. AI has no conviction.
Right.
There's nothing deep inside of the soul of AI that just has to share the thing, and you could feel the passion, you could feel the purpose behind what the words that are being said, and so like that's what's so cool about what you've built with One Rental at a Time. It came out of a pure place of passion and conviction. You can do this, and like that's the tonality throughout your content, which I don't see for a very long period of time that being able to be created with AI. I'd be very surprised when a conversation takes place because you put two AI, figurines, or maybe you say like, "Hey, Shaquille O'Neal, have a conversation with Kobe Bryant, and
Right.
make it happen." Like, there's no way that it could make it feel something. It would just be for entertainment value and maybe
Right.
just, oh wow, this is cool. But we're talking about impact content, and you can do that by speaking from a place of conviction.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, just don't forget, as part of the school community, you can put questions in the chat box. Put questions in chat you want to ask Omar or I. We will definitely get to your questions. So don't be afraid. Put your comments in below and we will get to those in a minute. Let's keep talking about this kind of 2.0 era, because I think, again, um, it's something I really feel. right? I actually, let me play this out. I've never put this on video before, but this is actually so shockingly something my mom and I were talking about. Yes, my mom watches all my videos. Shout out Dorothy. Thanks, Mom, for being such a huge supporter. I love you very much. And she served, so she served in the Navy. So shout out Dorothy. Um,
Awesome.
I'm starting to play with the idea of all of us have to go through 4 seasons. Now, each season could be I will define them in a minute, but let's first start here. Each season could be different number of years. You get through them different rates. So, season number one, this is where someone else, likely your parents, is responsible for you, making sure you're fed, sheltered. You're not wanting for money, right? Basically, you're going to school. At some point, you leave that nest. Is it 18? Is it 25? Is it 37? Whatever it is, then you become responsible for you, right? Likely you're working, likely you're an entrepreneur, likely you are paying your bills. Season number three, this is when your bills are taken care of, likely through investments. In my case, real estate. Maybe it's stocks, maybe it's crypto, maybe it's classic cars, whatever it is. But over the years, you have built up through your second season enough investments to take care of your expenses. Now you can enjoy life. That is your third season. And just to round this out, the fourth season is when unfortunately you go back and somebody else to take care of you, right? You nursing home or whatever, right? So all of those can be different, decades, it can be different time frames, but the goal is I'm trying to help people make the second season as short as possible
That's
and
so good.
and make the third season as enjoyable as possible.
Wow.
That's the transition that I'm trying to play with. What do you think of all that?
It's really good. I mean, that's brilliant. I love it. I think you just put into words what I'm trying to do. And I hope nobody feels like I'll first off and say I'm 32 years old at the time of filming this. I'm just someone who's observing what's going on. But I would say I want this season to be expedited where my stuff is taken care of and my earned income isn't a requirement.
Exactly.
And I see the path, right? I mean, because of brilliant people like you, but the fact that you've identified it and like your part to play is in that 2 and 3.
Hmm.
I think it's brilliant. And then it's just also, if we want to go deeper, the question is why? Like, why in season number 3 do we want it to be enjoyable? Well, because based on actual experience and people's realities and testimonies, they are finding that life becomes empty when you don't
Hmm.
have something to do. And so, like, if if you can impact people, you're going to go to sleep at night feeling really good in any capacity. It doesn't, I mean, this doesn't have to be the content creation space, but it's like service, it should never
Yeah.
leave your life.
No, I agree with that. And really, it really is that magic of shrinking phase two and making phase three or season three more enjoyable. That's the magic that I'm trying to play with and love to keep working on with you going forward. I want to bring up a question we got from Catherine because I think a lot of folks my age kind of think this, right? They look at YouTube, they see all the youngsters on it, and maybe they're unsure where to start. So I'll read her question and then allow you and I to riff on it, Omar. I have a couple of vague, quote unquote, crazy ideas of what I want to do, but unsure. How does one decide what type of content to create? What do you think about that? Because I have some ideas.
Yeah, I think the first place my brain goes to is just the practical content format you decide to go with. I like to break it down into 5 content formats. You have talking head videos, essentially just sitting in one place, not moving, and just delivering whatever it is you want to talk about. You have live streaming, meaning you just go live on YouTube, you deliver it. There's no editing because once you start and end, it's up, and it's a great way to prevent editing. Then you have video podcasting. You have this ability to either by yourself or with up to however many people you'd like, have a conversation around the thing you want to talk about. Then there's vlogging, which means you just go and you go talk maybe at a park, or maybe you go somewhere where whatever it is you're talking about is the very place you're actually filming the content. And all this could be done with smartphones, by the way. And then lastly would be the faceless content, which is kind of what we talked about. But I've categorized it into those. So I would say deciding on the type of content format you would wish to do, and maybe the one that resonates with you might be the one that you enjoy consuming the most, like based on what you like watching on YouTube or based on what you like to, do. And like the one that doesn't take the most out of you to create. It shouldn't. There should be a level of figuring out and learning. There's a learning curve there, but there's just a few things. Like once you get those lined up, then it's like, oh, all I got to do is outline my video and just talk through it, or all I got to do is just rant. I could rant on why I've been able to stay faithfully married for 30 years. Oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
And that's the video. And so I wouldn't actually get too hard pressed about the actual ideas. Like, especially when you're just starting out, what I would love to see is whatever you're most inspired to create, to just create that first.
Yeah.
You don't have to play the game. You don't have to play the algorithm. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not about building an audience initially, and quite frankly, maybe ever. It's just about knowing that whoever watches this, whether it's one or a million, that they are going to get something valuable from it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Again, folks, please keep putting your chat comments or questions in. I will go through all of them. If you put them in, we will try to get them answered. So again, don't be afraid. Put them in there. There are no silly or dumb questions. We will get to all of them. The thing that I would kind of bring up here is I go back to, one rental at a time, YouTube, first 6 months. If you go back and look at my playlists, you can see I had no idea what this channel was going to be. I basically created a playlist for any new idea I had. And if I was, this was question came from Catherine in this case, I would create a video about each of my crazy ideas and I would put it out into the wild. I would first tell myself, how did I feel putting it out, right? Did it land like I thought it would? And B, what was the response from the audience? Because you're not going to get a lot of views, but the little bit that you do get, was it what you expected? Was what you did what you deliver land? Because what I have found creating lots of different playlists and contents and trying is sometimes you have an idea on your head, but it doesn't land like you expected it to, right? Which means you can either try again or, go a different direction. I think we do a lot of too much limiting. We create excuses. And my answer for everything, right or wrong, is create, do it.
Yeah.
You could always take it down later for whatever reason. It didn't land or you got some negative response. But like if I had 3 or 4 crazy ideas that I was trying to do, Catherine, I would create one video in each crazy idea, see how I felt when I was done. Probably 2 of the 4 you're going to feel really good about. Great. Well, then of those 2, which one did the audience receive well? I think that's what I would do.
Yeah. And I love that you bring that up, of that, like having, like if you do keep the audience first in your mind and in your process, chances are is they're gonna like the thing you like the least. Like they're gonna like most the thing you like the least, right?
Exactly.
And so yeah, that is a pattern. I've personally, I haven't uploaded 13,000 plus videos like Michael onto YouTube, but I have uploaded somewhere along the lines of 400, 500 plus.
Yep.
And what I have discovered is the videos that have done really well, I did not expect them to.
Mhm.
And that's because everyone, human nature, we're all inherently selfish in some way, shape, or form. This is why we care so much about the content. Like, right, like, I don't know which one, because I don't know, I don't want people to think of me like I don't. And the reality is, if we understand the principle that people are generally inherently selfish, I actually think it serves you to serve that principle. Like, give people what they want.
Yeah.
And that's honestly the mindset I would encourage you with. And don't be so caught up in the
Yeah.
the minutia.
Yeah, let's have a conversation about Charlene Johnson, right? Charlene Johnson is somebody you've interviewed on your channel a couple of times. She has an amazing story. She's definitely in her 2.0 life and owns it. I was lucky enough to see her speak at Think Media. She's wonderful. She came up in the fitness game,
Hmm.
decades ago. She's now living her best life kind of in front of a camera and really focused on helping. Why don't you talk about what makes Charlene unique and kind of a lead for this 2.0 generation.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys don't know, she's brilliant. Her name's Shalene Johnson, and she has such a great, I think, she's a great example of not what necessarily what you need to do, but what is possible.
Right.
And she's actually impacting all kinds of ages because she moves on conviction. You know, there was I think just to give a big overview is like she used to be in television where or
Mhm.
like TV commercials where they would do like the fitness stuff and she was a part of
Infomercials.
yeah,
Mhm.
infomercial, yeah. So Beachbody and all that stuff. And then she transitioned into learning like online business and digital marketing and started sharing that information, and that was kind of like her business that she built over the last 15 years, where she was helping people learn marketing and all those things and make millions with online courses and coaching and consulting. And it's been so cool because as a normal human being and very gifted and very charismatic, they had two kids, a son named Brock, a daughter named I forget that what's her name, whatever. Like they have two kids, and they told themselves, regardless of what life we live, we're gonna make it a point to be at our kids' track meets and football, and we're never gonna miss it. And they prioritized their lives as parents as opposed to people who create content.
Mhm.
Brett is her husband, so we have Shalene Brett. Sierra is her daughter's name, and I mean, just like fast forward now, her marketing strategy is spending 95% of the year sharing what she's doing in life to make her health great, to make her fashion awesome, and all those things, and her parenting. And then 2 times a year, she invites people to join her on a journey. If they would be so inclined to want to learn how she's been able to do what she's done. But it's so cool to see her and the fruit of her life and it being on display. And when I say that, I mean Brock Johnson, her son. He's like 27 or 26. He's the number one Instagram educator on
Mhm.
Instagram. If you type in Brock Johnson, he has almost 1 million followers. He is the number one educator when it comes to Instagram, and she co-leads a business with him. Like he's an entrepreneur. It's such a beautiful thing to see. Sierra is doing incredible things, and their kids are happily married. And Shalene actually will go through seasons in life and actually just run it. She has a Patreon, so she has like a little, low ticket paid community where she'll go really deep on, things that she's observed in her space. And one is like she had a procedure done by a plastic surgeon, and it went so bad, and she ended up spending like almost a year talking about malpractice, and it was so cool. She helped an industry that she wasn't even initially a part of. Now she's doing this expose on the girl that wrote, "Girl, Wash Your Face." What's her? I mean, I forget what her name is. Rachel, "Girl, Wash Your Face." Ariella, "Girl, Wash Your Face." You wouldn't know, maybe because they're too young. My team is young. Uh, no, but my wife has been sucked into the whole storytelling of this, and she's just doing podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Like just audio podcasts for this paid community, and then she does have like an actual podcast. Like if you go on her YouTube channel, she's killing it, helping people with their health, and that's really like her forefront is fitness and health. And I say all that to say, like the way they have leveraged life and content, and even like because like creating videos, I would argue doesn't like, if you think it's hard, then it'll be hard. But if you think it's like, oh, all I gotta do is like record this and upload it, like let's do it. Like I can do that for the rest of my life. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, this is why I actually I'm so grateful to have stumbled on this whole art form and activity. I guess we could boil it all the way down to this activity of creating content, because I can sit down and have conversations with people for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I'm doing at age 32, I can still do at age 90.
Exactly.
And it will be because the sooner I started, the better it will pay off in every way, shape, or form. Relationships,
Yeah.
financially, opportunities. I mean, it doesn't even matter. Fulfillment, purpose. But yeah, I have a few conversations with her. I would encourage you to go check out if you
Yeah.
wanted to get some more information. But Shalene's killing it. She's amazing.
Yeah. The thing that I love about Shalene, and really I can echo it, on a very small, much smaller scale with one rental at a time, is when you get started creating content, you really have no idea where it's going to go, right? When you talk about multiple streams of income and all of those things, right? I've shared it with my audience. One rental at a time, this YouTube channel spawned a book, courses, affiliates, events, both virtual and in person. And I think it was late 2022. So we're talking over a year ago. The brand collectively made $1 million, $1 million, all
Insane.
all total. Crazy. I had no idea. So what I would tell you again, I would encourage you to get started. Doesn't matter what the crazy idea is. Find what feels good to you. Do that consistently. That's my superpower. It's not lost on me anymore. I didn't get it before. I get it now. I have a remarkable ability to stay focused and be consistent. But set up your schedule. Is it once a day or is it once a week? Is it twice a week? Make sure it's something you can stick to. Do it for a year, and then you will be shocked at how many branches or offshoots, if you want, what happened. I never planned to make money on YouTube. I didn't even know what monetization was. I created because I was in the back of a van in Taiwan with my entire family speaking Mandarin, and I don't speak it. It was loud. So I plugged in to meet Kevin and Graham Stephan. I'm like, these
Mm.
guys are talking about rental properties and they got like 7. Shoot, we got like 200. Maybe my
Yeah.
voice, will be interesting. Again, this is important for Gen X and baby boomers. We have a story, we have history, we have scars, we have losses, we have
Mm.
experience that needs to be shared. If you can help the next generation see what's possible, it's pretty awesome. And then don't chase money. That's again the beauty of being Gen X and baby boomers is we don't have to chase the money. Trust me, the money will come and it will be more than you ever thought possible. But just build something that you have fun with, you have a hobby, you have a passion, and you'd be shocked at what's possible.
I have a question for you
Mhm.
because I've gotten a couple of comments on my podcast because I alluded to a generalization I made that I understand that was a generalization, and that was that if you're in this time of your life, you're more than likely financially free, which I could see there's a level of ignorance in that statement. What would you say to somebody who would say like, no, man, I'm still paycheck to paycheck? Like maybe that like that season two
Yeah.
would like they
No,
haven't been exposed to the information. Like, what would you say to that creator
well,
or person?
again, that's the beauty of the 4 seasons that I'm talking about. Because season number 2, it could be, in my case, it was probably 17 years. For some people, it might be 47 years. But here's the deal. You still have lived multiple decades.
Mm,
The thing that I know about folks that are 51, I'm 51, almost 52. There is something that we have been passionate about for multiple decades. There is some hobby we started as a kid that we're still interested in. There are life experiences. We have been through multiple recessions. We have scars, wounds, history. So even if you're living just paycheck to paycheck now at 51, you have you have something that could lead to more revenue, aka side hustle, that could actually shorten phase 2. Because let's be honest, if you're living a paycheck to paycheck at 51, whatever you're doing ain't working. Let's just be honest. You're 51, living paycheck to paycheck. Whatever you're doing today is not working. Let's try something else. So let's talk
that's
about
good.
what you are uniquely good at. And maybe if you do that for a year, you could build a side hustle of an extra $1,000, which then you could bank and buy assets. So to your point, I think there's a lot of 51-year-olds that are living paycheck to paycheck, but that's not a freaking excuse. All of us have one of these. The first 1,000 videos on my channel were done with this. I
Wow,
still do my daily financial news from this device to prove to you it's possible.
come on.
So stop it. Just stop it already. Yeah, get going.
I'll
All
be
right.
sure to comment on people's stuff.
So,
Not making excuses. No, but it is true. I actually, a lot of people ask, how long should I do it until I start seeing traction? And I know traction could mean a lot of different things now, I believe if the content value is there, and when I say content value, yes, I'm not saying production value. I'm saying the actual information that you share, the stories that you tell, the stuff you say. A year's worth of consistency, it's lonely at the top.
Mhm.
Like it's like, are a lot of people creating content? Yes. Are a lot of people creating content consistently? No.
No.
So so consistency is the linchpin to put you in a category, which will in turn, I like to say, if you can commit a year to a quality upload, again, content quality upload to YouTube, I believe your life from this point, from the point you started, will look different a
Oh,
year after that.
well, I
And
mean,
and I
yeah,
know, yeah,
but
I was gonna
I was
say,
just
and
gonna say,
I love that you said you didn't even know about YouTube monetization.
yeah.
So like this is what I mean by bliss. Like it was just out of a pure place to help people, and just so people know, there are literally, I mean, I want to say 2 dozen ways you could monetize a
Oh,
YouTube
easy.
channel,
Oh,
because
easy.
you could sell your own book, you could sell other people's products, you can actually be reached out to by a company that will just fully fund you to be able to fully focus on creating. Like there's just so many opportunities in that regard. But again, you're doing it just because you know that this is a great use of your time, and
Hmm.
that you're also creating something that you can do for the rest of your life and have true fulfillment in. What
Yeah.
were you going to say?
I was just gonna say, if you don't want to do it a year, then I would suggest following Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast said, if you're not going to do 100 videos, don't even bother starting. I mean, whatever it is, right? You've got to make a commitment to this. You got to find, I call it finding your voice. That was
Mm.
kind of back to Catherine's point, not knowing where you want to go. You're trying this thing, you're uncomfortable. Um, but yeah, consistency is key. You'll find your tribe. The last thing I'll talk about, and then we'll get to some more questions. Go ahead and put your comments below. Was you don't need a big tribe. You don't need a big audience, which I think a lot of people get it twisted, right? YouTube themselves, they give you these plaques for 100K and a plaque in a million and 10 million. I would tell you, if you got to 4,000, just 4,000, you have your tribe, right? Your impact. There's something magical. And the other thing I would tell people, because hopefully a lot of people get started, in my opinion, the first 400 subscribers are the hardest. It's the first 400. Once you get to 400, you probably have a voice, you have something that's resonating. It should get easier from there. That doesn't mean you don't need to improve and you don't need to tweak things. You're always learning. I'm still learning. Um, but yeah, I think the first 400. So if you're stuck at 87 or 113 and it's been 8 months, I feel you. I feel you. The first 400 were rough. I get it. What do you think of all that?
I like that. I like that thinking and that example. I would even I would actually push back a little bit in the sense of this, that because of where YouTube is going, subscribers are becoming a little less relevant.
Agreed.
Meaning, what do you mean by that, Omar? I mean that your videos, YouTube will do the heavy lifting to get the right viewer to watch your video, and because
Mhm.
they're wanting to prioritize viewer satisfaction. And so if somebody clicks on your video because it showed up on their feed, because you talked about how you've been faithful for 30 years in your marriage, even though it wasn't easy, and that was a beautiful video, and like that had no editing on it, it was so raw, transparent, and real, and like the the algorithm will serve that to other individuals. If they click and watch those videos, they will continue to serve your videos to those people. They don't need to be subscribed. If you hopped on your YouTube page right now as you were logged in, I would even say most of the videos that you are served, you don't even are subscribed to. They just know the type of videos you are watching, so they're serving you like videos from other creators. So yeah, I would encourage it. It's a fun thing to measure, subscriber growth,
Mhm.
but I don't think I think I have 33 episodes so far on my podcast. I want to say there is not one time, and if there is, maybe there's one or two where I've actually asked for you to subscribe. I think
Yeah.
my subscribers would. I mean, I've gotten 1.4 million views on my podcast since launching it in the last 6 or so months. I don't have a million subscribers, but it but 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 a over 1 million people have been impacted by these conversations I'm having, and
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm okay to not have that, that number grow all the time. Like that's not really like the concern, because I know how that algorithm works. And actually every platform is actually this way. Like even Instagram, it's if you go on your Instagram feed right now, half of what you do when you scroll are not people you follow. Now, if it really grabs your attention, and then this is just the thinking behind a consumer. If a video grabs my attention, what do? I click on that person. If it's really that good, I'll click on their profile. I'll then binge them a little bit. Not always do I hit the follow button, but guess what? Their stuff still gets served to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's going beyond just the follower and subscriber count. It's actually like if you think of your video as just like a worker bee that just goes out and it's doing its thing. It's finding the right people to
Mm,
get in front of, and all
yeah.
the platforms are trying to be better at that. So
Yeah.
that I mean, Instagram just rolled out that information that they're trying to help smaller creators, because they don't want to just obviously, you know, uh, make you Instagram work for just people who have an audience and have started
Yeah.
early on. So that this is why the advantage is now, because the algorithms are actually benefiting people who can actually deliver on content value.
Yeah. Well, let's get to a couple of questions. We got a couple from Mark, I believe. How do you balance creativity and consistency in your content, Omar?
Creativity and consistency. I would like defining what you think about creativity. Um, but
So creativity, I'm gonna play it here. Maybe it's kind of uniqueness, right?
okay,
You do
trying to be
podcasts kind of,
different.
yeah, trying to be different, right? Trying to change
Yeah,
up the style.
it's great. I think like the way I see it is there's so many nuances to you creating videos, from the place, the city you live in, from the type of home or apartment or condo you live at, to the space that you spend most of your time in. So as far as creativity, I think the mixture between who you are and where you are creative,
Hmm.
right? Like I guess the creativity of my podcast, me living in Las Vegas, has benefited me in the sense that a lot of people come to Las Vegas for something at least a couple times a year,
Yeah.
and so I'm able to get a conversation done, and that's just the likelihood and chance that, because I live in Las Vegas, it works to my advantage. Now, as far as consistency goes, I never let cuteness override my consistency. If you watch my podcast, because I have the energy and team to do it, I put 90% of our energy into the intro. And this is because it's important, and because I have the resources to do so. I want to make sure the introduction of my podcast is the highest effort, that 80/20 rule, right? And then what's crazy is the rest of it, I let AI. It's just there's no subscribe button that comes up on the screen. There's no follow me on Instagram. It's literally just a raw conversation,
Mhm.
uh, and people love the rawness of just, there's not much going on, and so. I'll poke in a little bit, like an ad read here and there if I have something going on, if I want to invite people on a journey. But more than that, it's really just the creativity of it. It kind of just comes back to who you are and what resonates with you. Like if you like the way somebody starts their videos, or if you like the way somebody delivers their video, and they're in like maybe a different niche or a different market or something, whatever, then maybe you can take some of that. Like when you say, Zuber, when you say finding your voice is actually a culmination of voices.
Hmm.
It's you said Graham, you said meet Kevin, maybe other financial YouTubers, and you're like, oh wow, like in all that, I see how Graham uses articles to leverage his content. Oh man, I have so many thoughts on articles. I'm gonna take that idea, that part of his
Hmm.
voice, and apply it to mine. So I think just look into your 5 most inspirational voices, creators, and people, and kind of find an average in that resonates with you and doesn't become an obstacle. Don't
Yeah.
allow that to actually get in the way. Oh my goodness, Omar, there's no way I can do intros like you. Don't do intros like me.
Yeah.
It's so many times Michael, I think, really wants me to tell him what he can do better. And every time I'm like, bro, it's working. I'm not gonna, I mean, here's a tweak you can make, but like, that's it. I'm not giving you any more juice because I don't want to mess up what's actually working. And so you'll never know what that thing might be. It might be
Yeah.
because end your videos with, maybe you end a podcast with rapid fire questions where it's like coffee or tea, dog or cat. Like it'll just become your thing. And that's the funny
Yeah.
thing about creativity. It A lot of the times it's not a thing until you make it a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before
The thing.
Michael Zuber's live stream was a thing,
Mhm.
he made it a thing, and now it's a thing for people every day to hop on his
Yeah,
Zoom or on
it
his
is.
live streams.
Yeah,
So
it's wild. Yeah, I love that.
yeah,
The thing that I would tell a lot of kind of folks starting this journey is you could be inspired by others, as kind of Omar is saying, but don't copy, right? You've got to stay true to yourself. The last thing you want to do is become a copycat, a bad kind of photocopy. You have to stay true to yourself because if you don't stay true to yourself, you won't be consistent. You will
it's
just
good.
wrap yourself around an axle of, whatever. Always, if you're going to do this, stay who you are. You will
Yes.
find your people.
And as long as you're copying, you're in competition.
Correct. I love
So the moment you actually separate yourself from you're no longer, one step or three steps behind the person you're copying. You're creating that own lane for you. And then you'll see people maybe potentially copy you or be inspired by you. It's amazing to see all the creators that are taking what I do and just watching from a distance, and they will eventually branch off. But as long as they're copying me, I'm ahead of them.
it.
But
Amen.
I'm also in my own lane. So like I'm just doing my thing. It's the type of conversations I'm having, the type of guests that I'm having on, and but yes, I mean being inspired is different than copying, and I would encourage you to stay inspired because it'll keep you
Yeah.
you know, consistent. But yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll echo that.
Yeah. Stay hungry. Don't copy. Please don't copy. Another question from Mark. Any advice to getting bigger creators to come on your channel or collaborate with you?
So good. The the first thing is to have something worth getting them on with. And I say that, but what I mean is like, if they go on your stuff and they see nothing and they see a lack of consistency and they see all this stuff, it's like the way somebody's going to do it is they're going to see the value. Here, there's one reason why people do anything. It doesn't matter if you're high level, if you have a big audience, you have a small audience. One reason why people do anything in life is because they feel like it. And so the better question is, how do I get a big creator to feel like collaborating with me on a creative element or video or what have you? I would say the way you do that is by over delivering on the value of them coming on. And that could mean so many different ways. That could mean, just, being active, commenting on their stuff and being while you're still producing and still creating. And so that when you have an audience, because the real value that you're going to share eventually with a bigger creator is giving them access to your audience. And so if you have a strong, engaged community, it doesn't matter, honestly, I believe, if it's small. Because like my podcast was small, and I actually got people to do my podcast before I even launched it. I just told them I'm spending the summer to capture some conversations. I told them the vision, but I also they saw the quality of content I put out, and they're like, dude, this is probably going to be the most high quality piece of content my face is going to be on. So like they got production value out of being on my podcast before it was even a thing. And I would even say it's still growing, so it's not really a thing yet. But I would say that, like, what value do you have to offer? And just by saying, can I be on or can you be on, that doesn't, you might take away from something they're doing. How do you make it
Yeah.
really valuable for their time? And it might be leading. This is why I think the skill of sales is so important, because you can simply lead with like,
Yeah.
hey, let's just say you want to get an author on, which, by the way, something I've learned about authors. Number one, you think big creators, just like with big audiences, are your go-to resource. No, like look for experts who've written books. They're always looking to
Yes.
explain their biggest discoveries. They just spent a majority of their life, writing this book, and they want to shout it off from the rooftop. So
Mhm.
if your audience aligns with the person, you might be able to build a relationship and also get them in front of your audience. But I found authors many times of books you love are not so hard to get to, because
Yeah.
authors are usually, they got very small teams, or maybe they're a one-man army, and if you're persistent in your asking, you'll get them on.
Yeah, I've had some success, right? I've obviously interviewed Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin, Ryan Pineda, Sean Pennell, Elena Cardone, and many others. What I would tell you all of those folks did is, to your point, they checked me out first, right? First off, they probably ignored me first couple of times. I stayed consistent, AKA follow up. I was never rude. I was never any of that. I was all love all the time. So follow up. Second, or great content, so they have something to look at. Follow up. Third, figure out what's important to them. I
Mm.
got Elena Cardone interview because she released her first book. Oh, by the
Oh,
way, it was the pandemic. She was, stuck in her house, so she took it from her kitchen table. But again, I talked about her book. I told her how the book was important to me, how I gave a copy to my mom and sister. Done, right? Jump through hoops. Um, Meet Kevin. Followed up for well over a year before we
wow.
had to sit down in conversation. Graham Stephan, 2.5 years of following up and having a conversation via Instagram or YouTube comments or whatever. So again, um, know what's going on in them. Ryan Pineda, right? I talked about Ryan Pineda's WealthCon like 2.5 years ago. What was important to him, so he said yes to that. So again, do your due diligence, do what you could do, be a platform, be consistent, have something that they could look at. And you'd be shocked. I had Elena Cardone on my channel when I think I had 11,000 subscribers.
Mm.
Think about that. 11,000, right? We're not talking 59,000, which we're almost at today. It was 11,000. And she said yes. I think she said yes because I clearly was passionate about her book, the message, and what she was going for. So um, there you go. So
So good.
all right, this is from Joe. Joe, I feel you, man. Here we go. I have two content ideas that I'm very interested in pursuing. My challenge is time, 40, 60 hours per week in a sales leadership role, small portfolio of rentals. I want to make sure I get a return on time. Can you discuss the hours spent per week building a channel, upside revenue potential? And we'll stop there because we're not accountants, so I'm not going to do the accounting question. But we'll talk about hours and upside in revenue. Why don't you go first?
Yes, it's funny because I see your question. It's kind of the answers in the question. You physically spend 40 to 60 hours in sales leadership role, which is probably required, right? That's
Mhm.
a physical. That's time and muscle, which is limited resources. Now, if creating a video is, I would say, single-handedly worth your time because you multiply yourself once you create it and upload it. So when you create a library of videos that are all working, I just posted a reel on my Instagram this morning that every 48 hours, over 7,000 people are watching my YouTube videos.
I saw
Every
that.
48 hours, it's a stat on YouTube in the back end. It says real time views. So I can't meet with 7,200 people in 48 hours. It is physically impossible. And I also don't have the time to do it. However, because I'm uploading content and I have a library of videos, now my time has now been multiplied. And like, what if you do that math on like the average view duration on my channel? I mean, I'm spending way more than 60 and 40 to 60 hours per week with people. So
Mm,
that would be it'll be a perspective shift first. You first have to believe that the activity is worth your time because it multiplies your time.
mhm.
And then over time you get better, and it's like building wealth because you're taking a part of digital real estate where you become a go-to resource for a certain community of people because of the way you look, because of the way you deliver it, the way you decide to share the information or how you decide to share it. Is why I would see it would be worth your time.
Yeah, well, let me take the time aspect because again, I think a lot of people look at this, and I'm not saying this is Joe, but I've heard the question enough to think it could be Joe. A lot of people look at creating YouTube content, and it's actually not the content that spooks them, it's the editing. It's, oh my God, I got to
Mm,
spend 4 to 6 hours editing this to make it perfect. Graham Stephan talks about it takes him, I don't know, ungodly amount of hours to produce a 12-minute video. Folks, what I would tell you again, remember what I'm talking about doing. Something you're passionate about, something that you love. You're not chasing money yet. What I would tell someone to do is just push the live button.
mm,
Forget the editing. Just go live, right? Pick up one of your contents. You said you have 2 ideas. So pick one of them, pick a question, how to be an enterprise sales rep, how to
mm.
negotiate, how to, not compete on price, how to whatever your thing is. Have a general outline of 4 or 5 bullet points. Just go live. Just go live. So let's talk about I have a daily financial news show that goes live 7:30 a.m. I spend about 60 minutes reading, which I've done my entire adult life, and then I go live. It takes 15 minutes and I'm done. So a lot of people overthink time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Just don't let editing be an obstacle.
get out of your this is why I'm imploring you to understand. AI is going to help people who go live. People are going to get sick and tired of AI generated nonsense. It's going to be, everybody's going to do it. It'll be splashy for a second, and then it will be nothing in a minute. Go live. So that's that. Now let's talk about money. What I would tell you to do is don't chase money for a year. Find your voice, get your consistency, get comfortable in front of a camera, go live. Get your tribe. If you can get to 4,000 folks, the money is nearly unlimited. I have made $1 million by freaking accident. No ads. I have no idea what the freaking heck I'm doing. I've got 5 or 6 income streams. I have no idea what I'm doing. If I spent 4 hours a week, 20 hours a month, just getting a freaking sales funnel or something going, I could probably triple that. But I'm not here for that. I'll take the money, no doubt, but I'm not trying to maximize the money. I'm trying to maximize impact. I am chasing impact, not money, which means the money will eventually be crazy if it's not
Mm.
crazy already.
Dude, you
So
need a shirt that says I accidentally made $1 million.
I
That's good.
accidentally made $1 million. It's crazy. All right, let's keep going because I'm not gonna answer accounting questions. I'm not getting in trouble. Let's go to John. I haven't launched my channel yet, but I found it telling to come up with a list of potential names of what I want to talk about, find the most recurring theme, forcing myself to narrow the message I could talk about for hours. I like that. You like that?
I haven't launched my channel yet, but I found. Well, I would say this. Just start. If you want to take a moment and maybe let's say okay, you could talk about it for hours, but if you were to break it up in maybe a series of videos, it'll help you be consistent because hypothetically, if you can talk about it for hours, make it a 5 or 10 part
Yeah.
conversation and
There you go.
delivery. And then, you have, now you're consistent. Now you got an upload a week for almost a quarter of the year.
Boom. Love that. Here's another question I will skinny down from Matt. How do you balance sharing personal life and creating content? Like, for example, your reel
That's
this
great.
morning, you had your daughter on the video behind, which I appreciated. She just graduated pre-K. Shout out her. But why don't you talk about balancing personal life with creating content?
That's really good. Okay, so I actually did a training on this with my inner circle, and it was this concept of wholesome content.
Mhm.
This is what I call wholesome content. So all of us, like if you do want to be successful, you do want to live in an you want to live in a niche or a focus. Sometimes niche might be a bad word for a lot of people because it's overused, but let's just say a channel focus. Like if it's about life in your 50s, that's a focus. If it's about, having healthy relationships, that's a focus. But once you have that decided and that's the majority of the content, that's kind of what people know you for. There are these five opportunities where you can include inside of your content, whether it be on Instagram or even on your YouTube when you deliver the stuff. Um, and it's your ability. These five things create a deeper connection with the people that follow you. So we have it's 5 F's. We have fitness, We have food, we have fashion, we have um why am I drawing a blank?
Faith,
Faith, really good. And then we have, did I say fashion?
fi- finances.
Finances, yes. So like these five areas, family, faith, food, fitness,
Finances.
finances, and anytime you can include it,
Yeah.
people will, it's funny, people will know you for it. Like, you know, like when people come up to me and they say oh my gosh, I love your podcast. Oh my goodness, dude, your account's great. They immediately go to talk about Ruby.
Yeah.
And it's like Ruby has become a part of my brand. And it's only, I mean, it's not like I'm not like a weirdo parent. It's just that like there are times where she's around and I'm creating
Yeah.
content and
A
she's
little
watching me.
splash. Just a little
Yeah, it's a little
splash.
splash. But also people know I love coffee, food.
Mm,
Did I say food? It's food. That was it.
mm.
That was so people know I love coffee because I like I'll share I'm about to make an espresso based drink, you know, with my single origin bean that I've gotten locally here in Las Vegas from Mothership Coffee Roasters. And uh as far as faith goes, I'm also one of the pastors at my church. You know, it's those things that you just can't help but share. And when I say, dude, when I say fitness, another word for fitness is sports. People know I love golf. People know I love to play golf. These are all these things that people are connecting with me. Like they'll never comment on a video where I'm talking about creating content, but if I post a video about Ruby, if I post a video about coffee, post a video about golfing, if I post a video about my outfit, if I post the comments actually start to go crazy.
Yeah.
And so the way you balance it, I think it's a natural approach. Like it's like a hybrid method. It's not forcing these things, but when you're consistent, it becomes a thing. I don't know if you guys like Alex Hermosi, but we all know that he never skips dessert.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
that's such a big part of his brand. You know, and that only becomes a thing over time. So yeah, I'll say you choose those five F's and you know, strategic. Don't have to be strategic, but be creative in your
Yeah.
inclusion. Don't overthink the inclusion of the thing you enjoy.
Yeah. What I would tell someone there is your audience will know you more the more that you share. You don't have to
Mm.
share, your home address and crazy things like that. Don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, I mean, you guys know my mom's name, my wife's name, my daughter's name. You've heard us travel. I've shared some of the travel experiences. You're not a robot, right? You
Right.
have all of these things going on. And actually, it's really funny. The hardest video I ever created, and this is only for the true OGs, because I was so focused on not missing a day,
Mm.
right? This happened, I think, 4 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago. We lost a dog named Jimbo, and I tried to do the daily financial news the next morning, and I lost it, just lost it. I think the video's still up. I think it's only like 2.5 minutes, but I had to shut it down because I started to cry live on camera because again, I do this stuff live.
Wow.
And that video got all kinds of support and comments and all of that. So again, sometimes bad stuff happens. And
Mm.
that was one of the hardest things I ever tried to do, is to try to record that. So just, you know, just be yourself. Omar, I want to give you the last chance because you are actually doing a 5-day challenge that I think starts today. You will do this
Mm.
challenge in the future. I've looked into it. Why don't you share what it is, just in case somebody wanted to, maybe sign up or be a part of that or really understand what the challenge is?
Yeah, so I'm doing this challenge. It's called the Content to Cast Challenge, and it's for people who know that the opportunity presents itself to start posting content consistently. And the way this challenge is broken down, because I try to find a way that I could serve people and still serve myself. Like I don't want to, you know, I definitely want I want you to have my mind. I want you to have access to be able to ask me questions. So the challenge, it's a 5-day challenge, Monday through Friday, and there's 2 ticket tiers. We have a general session every day at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The sessions are recorded, but there's a VIP tier where if you join the VIP, it's an hour of Q&A every day from Monday through Friday before the general session. And then we also have an awesome community that you get plugged into, and so yeah, it's 5 days where I actually break down my content system, like how it all works, how I'm able to be a part-time, a multiple 6-figure part-time entrepreneur. And so yeah, that's happening starting in an hour from now will be the VIP Q&A.
Yeah. Well, folks, Omar, one more time, what's your YouTube channel? Because I watch it all the time.
Yeah, if you just search my name Omar Eltak or put the department or the DEPT, I will show up, and that's just my personal YouTube channel where my podcasts are. A lot of people say my podcast should be paid to
Yeah,
consume, so
I
that's
love it.
good. My free stuff is better than other people's paid stuff.
Yes, that's why
Yes.
you're here. Thank you. And again, Omar, thank you for helping me all the time, giving me the little tweaks and prods. You're an amazing man. Shout out to your family, Ruby, all of that. Take care. Later.
Alrighty.